it's nice, you know.
I wasn't going to say anything, but it dawned on me that 98 years ago, on this day, on this time, if you consider India and you don't take the 5.5 hours difference out, something happened. I just calculate in my head, you know, because I follow every day this Vraj Mandal Parikram, even though I'm not here, I should be there. So, yesterday Prabhupada would have walked from Nandagram, Turkadamba, Kokilaban, a place called Javat, and then ending up in Kosi. Kosi is a town, when you're coming from Delhi to Vrindavan, it's just as it's almost the first town you reach before you enter the Dham, the spiritual world. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was giving a lecture. So Prabhupada used to give a lecture for 3 nights. And on this night, Prabhupada was, at this time, it was in the evening, Srila Prabhupada was listening to the lecture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And during the lecture, some devotee got up, he went down to take darshan, he came back up, and he thought his spiritual master would be happy that, you know, he went to see the Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't happy at all, and he chastised him. Now later, what happened actually, everybody was heading off to another place called Sheshai, which is another like about 18, 19 kilometers. And if you're doing a Vraj Parikrama, nobody wants to break their parikram, they want to walk the whole way. But Srila Prabhupada stayed back, he broke his parikrama, so as he could listen to his spiritual master. And years later, at initiation in Allahabad, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati remarked that he likes to listen. So I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. Kosi is a wonderful place actually, very good for book distribution, very wonderful people, even though it's a big town, usually big towns not so great, but this one, super place. And I thought anybody can get that mercy to listen to her spirit, her Srila Prabhupada. And I thought, anybody, it's available, Prabhupada's available, His mercy is available. So anyway, that's what I just thought. And also when I was chanting tonight on I got these beads I was chanting on tonight. I just thought, well, they're, a piece of wood. But this is I made them from 96. The Tamal tree fell over in the Krishna Balaram Mandir where Srila Prabhupada would chant underneath that tree, watch the deities. There's a certain spot where you sit and you can take darshan of Krishna Balaram and Radha Shyamasundar at the same time. You know, there's a little spot. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting under that tree and he fell over, you know. Achyuta was looking after Prabhupada's samadhi, take the wood, you know, I just thought, anyway, there's my 2 cents. So, Hare Krishna. Just one last thing, as I see Scottish devotees, amazing thing happened 2 nights ago. The team were distributing prasad and having kirtan in Scotland, in Glasgow. And as we were leaving in the evening, because we were in there was a cornered off area where the police, anyway, and as we were leaving there was hundreds, if not thousands of people chanting Hare Krishna and waving and cheering the devotees. We have it on video as they left in Glasgow. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
I have that kind of memory with details, and I'll just tell you what I can remember, and it will be very, very little, sadly. Prabhupada came in 1977. What I remember Janaki and I, he was so sick because all the Maharajas and sannyasis would be guarding the fort here, so nobody could get near Prabhupada. So probably was protecting, obviously, because he wasn't well. But I managed, because I was doing the classes, so I got allowed in. I didn't see Prabhupada, I just felt that was very special to even get into his room. He was just next door. But every morning they would bring him down in the palanquin, and my dear god sister Janaki and I used to decorate that in Prabhupada's bedroom with flowers before he went in. Do you remember? And it was so difficult. We had to pin them on, and we kept thinking, oh, Prabhupada's body is so delicate and so fragile. Wasn't it worrying? We were very anxious. It was a very anxious service. And then he would get carried downstairs. Anyone here carried the palanquin? Amita, did you help carry the palanquin?
Yeah, there's
wow.
a picture.
You can help. You can add to this then if you think of anything. Because I'm like a bit for haze. And the devotees would be like, chanting. And it wasn't so wild. The devotees were more somber, weren't they? Because of Prabhupada was so sick and thin and the dark glasses, and then they would carry him, put him up with his palanquin on the Vyasasana, right? And then Tamal Krishna would be there speaking. He would speak a bit because Prabhupada didn't speak, did he? He spoke a little bit, but just the occasional words or something. He wasn't able to, or he chose not to speak due to his state of health. And so that, was it 3 weeks he was here? Anyone remember? About 3 weeks? I'm so glad Amita's down there, he's nodding and confirming everything.
More like 2, I think.
2, you think? 2 weeks. So this was the ritual. Every morning he'd come down and we'd do Guru Puja to him.
First of all, to Radha,
to Radhika Kulananda.
and then back to the Vyasasana.
So they would carry the palanquin to see. I don't remember that. That's really helpful. So they would carry Prabhupada in the palanquin to see, obviously, to see Radha Krishna and Gaurnitai. Oh, did we have just Gaurnitai?
Sitaram and
Did we?
Radha Krishna.
We didn't have Sitaram. No, Jai Tika brought them in later. Jagannath? Are you sure? No, I trust Jagannath at the manor for a while. Just Radhika Kulananda. Okay. And then they would carry him back up to them, and the devotees would it was very ecstatic. I remember, so that was the ritual every morning, and we just get to see drink Srila Prabhupada, even those. And practically a lot of god sisters that were there at the time mentioned that they were thinking something, and it was like Prabhupada he just somehow got into their heart, and they got the answers. Did you hear that? Yeah. He was communicating through the heart with devotees. So that was every morning. I mean, it was very special. It was very special. I remember on the Vyasa Puja day, that was extra, incredible kirtans, and we were just like, oh, everyone trying to get Prabhupada's mercy, and just, I remember the outfit. It was a Ramadevi outfit. I actually remember the outfit, yellow, turquoise and pink or something. And Prabhupada sometimes he would nod and clap a bit, didn't he, and clap his hands.
He would clap with his hands, but his hands were swollen.
Right.
He was very thin, very emaciated, very
Group
poor.
efforts.
And he would clap with his hands, but there wouldn't be a sound. He would just put his hands together and really gently.
Yes.
Very grave.
Everyone in the room he would be.
Everyone was focused on Srila Prabhupada. They couldn't take their eyes
That's
off him.
right.
Well, that's how he was all like. Every movement of his hand, it was like a wave of ecstasy.
Yeah, sometimes he would do this. Would he not?
Yeah.
Got devotees jumping a
And
bit.
I remember standing up and dancing, and yeah.
Were you there?
Sachi would have been on.
You were. Do you remember?
Yes,
Yeah, do you remember anything else? Absolutely. This is a combined group memory tool. It's quite helpful. Anyway, I remember the very special moment was, for me, was when Srila Prabhupada was leaving, and he decided not to go to America because he was too sick, so he was going to go back to Vrindavan. And he was going to the airport, and I had never had a chance actually to go to the airport, because he came here in 75, 76 and 77, and I did see him in those years. But anyway, I was just kind of walking up the, wasn't a drive in those days, or to our main gate, which was at the village. And then Ganga and Anada, I don't know if anyone remembers, do you? I know the older ones do, but I guess Anada's still around, Ganga's passed. But they had this like camper van thing, small VW bus type thing, and they screeched to a halt. They said, jump in, we're going to the airport. And that's how it was. Everyone's like, oh, Srila Prabhupada is going to the airport. Quick, get in. I was like, hold me in like that. And with my daughter, who was, how old was Rasika-rani? She would be 2, maybe? Toddler. Maybe 2, 3. Can't remember now exactly. Well, I should do. She was born in 75. Hold on, give me a second. 2. She was 2. I got it.
2.5.
I told you about my brain. So anyway, we jumped in and they drove. We're going to the airport. I thought, oh, this is really exciting. Going to the airport. Got to the airport just in time. We just got there because everyone was driving. We were driving like maniacs. Well, they were. And we got to the airport. We rushed into the departure line. They're not like they are today. Here you could just walk into a plane in those days, right? No security, really. So we rushed to the gate. We just got to the departure gate. And Srila Prabhupada was coming, and he was being pushed in I think it was a wheelchair at that time, probably. And he was coming in a wheelchair. And I looked at him and I thought, this is the last time. I just knew in my heart this was the last time I was going to see Srila Prabhupada ever in his Sattva form, his physical form. That was a hard one. I just, But anyway, he came, and my daughter was there, and somehow or other, I had a yellow rose from somewhere. I must have been scheming this in the van or something. And I gave her the flower, and she just ran up to Srila Prabhupada just as he was going to go through the gate. And he stopped and he took the yellow rose and he just smiled, that Oceanic, incredible smile. And it was the first time I'd seen him smile in 2 weeks. I hadn't seen him so grave in those 2 weeks, really, really serious. And yeah, it was but anyway, that was such a special moment. It was like me giving the flower, you transfer it to you. Yeah, and that was the last time I saw him. This was just that beautiful smile, and then he was gone. But he was gone from us in that form. But thank goodness, he's still in my heart. I feel much more related to Prabhupada now. I mean, that was wonderful. Just so much Vaikuntha energy and Shakti coming from him that kind of held us, when he was around. But still, we've got to do our own work, as he'd say, fly our own planes, But just like reading his books, especially with devotees, service, it's just so, I feel I've developed a much deeper, real relationship with Srila Prabhupada in his Vani form. And actually he said that, didn't he? He did say. Anyway, I've ruffled on an awful long time. Thank you very much, Marcia, for the question. It makes it easy. Thank you. Hare Krishna, and please.
Shrikama, your pastime at the airport reminded me of one earlier in Prabhupada's pastimes. I just read it the other day. If you're going to leave, best to leave between reminiscences. Well, your lift's gone. Okay. Okay. Well, someone will tell you. It's the flower pastime. I'm sure there are many flower pastimes in Srila Prabhupada. Many. This particular one, I just read it the other day. It was in Prabhupada's rooms in Vrindavan, in Prabhupada's rooms, and it was packed. So Prabhupada's rooms were packed out, and this very elderly lady, old lady, white sari, one of the Vrindavan widows, appeared at the back came to the door, and she sat down, and a way which only I think little old ladies can do. She kind of scooted slowly, very determinedly, came through all the sannyas, all the devotees at the back, and it was packed out, packed. And how she did it, goodness knows, must have had a mystic power. And she kind of came this way and that way through the sannyasis until she was right at Prabhupada's feet, practically, on just the desk between her and she was holding a flower. This is the important bit. All the way through, she was holding a flower. And nobody knows where she got the flower from, but she had a flower. And she offered it to Srila Prabhupada. And all the time that she was coming through the crowd of people, Prabhupada's eyes, he kept looking at this lady until he was just fixed looking at her and her determination, and she was looking at him. And slowly, her eyes, until she came right next to in front of Prabhupada. And she offered this flower to Srila Prabhupada. And he looked at her, and with intense gravity, he said, "Thank you very much. Thank you very much." You and I say, we say thank you very much. But the depth when Prabhupada says thank you, it's inconceivable. You cannot conceive that gratitude that Prabhupada has. And it's with the gratitude from Prabhupada comes the blessing. He's grateful. If Prabhupada's grateful, Krishna's grateful. So that one flower, just that one, it just really was very touching just to read this. That one flower offered with, and the austerity, which she was determined to give that flower to Prabhupada. Thank you very much. It's very sweet. I wish Sikama had been here to hear that one, because it's a flower pastel. And there are many. On the back of the Krishna book, you've seen Prabhupada looking at a flower. This is the old Krishna book, the silver Krishna book. There's a picture on the back, and Prabhupada's looking with a slight smile on his face. And it's a lovely picture. It's a very informal picture. And some years later, I was very surprised to hear that Prabhupada disapproved of that picture on the back of the Krishna book. He disapproved of it. I'm going to ask you. I've got my own understanding of it, but any feedback? Why did Prabhupada disapprove of the picture of him? Smiling could be
His whole body.
That's one way. Anything else? Well, it's the back of the Krishna book. And in presenting Krishna book, Prabhupada is Guru. And in this informal picture, it's not Prabhupada as Guru. It's got a different energy to it. And Prabhupada was very...
It was a pastime picture rather than
Yes, pastime. And Rancho told me one time, he was here with Prabhupada, with a few of his co-brothers, and Prabhupada was here. And, we see pictures of Prabhupada in various photographs of him by his desk in different temples, And Prabhupada's got his dhoti rolled up, and he's got his hands behind his legs. Very informal. And there were times like that when Prabhupada would give his association to his managers and various devotees, and Prabhupada was striking this deep friendship. There might be joking, there might be comments, philosophy, all sorts of things. Very Prabhupada relaxed. And Rancho told me that Prabhupada's servant came in and said, "Srila Prabhupada, it's time to give class." So immediately Rancho says Prabhupada's demeanor changed. Suddenly he got up. He suddenly became very grave, very grave. And now he was going to go down to the Vyasasana and represent the Guru Parampara. Now he's Acharya. So whatever mood Prabhupada was in, he was in it, totally absorbed. Whether it was sitting on the Vyasasana in all gravity, the responsibility of representing his Guru Maharaj and the Parampara, or whether it was being humorous and cracking a joke. There was one morning walk I went on. I didn't have much association with Prabhupada, but one time there was a morning walk, and Srila Prabhupada cracked a joke at the expense of the scientists, and it was funny. It was very funny, and Prabhupada started to chuckle, and then it burst into a laugh, and we're all laughing, and Prabhupada was sharing this kind of universal belly laugh with those of us around. It was the most amazing experience. But Prabhupada was totally into that mood. So in the same way, Prabhupada's compassion It's inconceivable. His gratitude is inconceivable. It's absolute gratitude. It's absolute compassion. It's almost absolute humour. So we can access these pastimes both through the books, or the various biographies. The biographies of Prabhupada. There's probably 24 or more now. And we can access his pastimes through his film, the video, and also there in his photographs. They're all a little snapshot of some pastime. And Srila Prabhupada is not that he's inaccessible. Over the years I've spoken to quite a number of people who've, sometimes their first visit to the temple, but a number of people on various programs, Namhata programs, or sometimes people who've become devotees in the temple. And they've confided, they said, I had a dream of Prabhupada, and I didn't know who he was until I met devotees and saw his picture. So it's not as if you dream of something in your subconscious, or you're replaying images, but Prabhupada himself actually is coming into people's dreams, and some amazing exchange that they've had. So this is, again, it's Prabhupada's compassion. I'll just end with that exchange that Shikama spoke about, Srila Prabhupada at the airport. Also, I had the good fortune to go to be at the airport, and there was an official from the airport with a uniform and a cap on, and he was wheeling Prabhupada. And just before he disappeared into the departure area, he turned the wheelchair around, and we all had darshan of Prabhupada. And like Shrikama, I just got this overwhelming feeling this is the last time I'm going to see Srila Prabhupada. And I was offering my obeisances, and just deep, I was really feeling that connection. And someone told me later, it was very comforting, Prabhupada, someone said, he was looking at you. So that mystical connection, Prabhupada, actually reading your heart, reading your mind, he had it so much. Many devotees speak of feeling naked in terms of Prabhupada. In other words, there's nothing between me. Prabhupada can see me as I am. Me as I am.
It's been quite an uncomfortable experience as well.
Well, the first time it ever happened to me was in Prabhupada's rooms at Berry Place. And Shamsundar asked me to show Prabhupada some artwork I'd done. It's a printing leaflet. And it turned out to be the place where I went to when Prabhupada gave me initiation. I didn't know at the time. So I'd done this leaflet, it had been printed out. And I showed it to Shamsundar, and he said, oh, go and show it to Srila Prabhupada. What? He said, yeah, you go show it to Prabhupada. Shamsundar, he wanted to share Srila Prabhupada. He wasn't putting a barbed wire fence around him. He protected him, but he wanted to introduce the whole world to Srila Prabhupada. And that comes across in his personality, in his books. He really wanted to share, So he said, go and show it. So, okay, coming. So, going. Hare Krishna. You got one. So Prabhupada's sitting at his desk, that little chrome and glass desk which is in there, which Prabhupada didn't like. He didn't like that desk. It's kind of cold 2001 Space Odyssey desk. It's a bit, modern. He didn't like it, but no one ever changed it. I don't think Prabhupada had this desk when he was here.
I had it made, custom made and made this door because he didn't have door in Prabhupada lectures.
Yes.
So I have specially made.
Did you?
3 doors, yeah, and in case. But especially this
Wow.
Prabhupada lectures door also.
Did Prabhupada use it?
No, the one that you're talking about is in his bedroom.
Yes.
But Prabhupada did like his desk and his doors.
Yeah.
And it was not comfortable and it's right, so I have that one made.
Yeah. Oh, what a shame. Prabhupada appreciates it now. Yeah, a glass desk. And the glass isn't the original, by the way. Someone sat on it and broke it. So at least the chrome's the original, even though he didn't like it. So anyway, Prabhupada's sitting at his desk, and the sun's streaming in through that window in Berry Place. And I'm pretty flustered. It's my first one-on-one with Prabhupada, and just alone. So I said, obeisances, and said, Srila Prabhupada, Shamsundra asked me to show you this. So he took this leaflet from me. He said, let me see. Took it, and he read the whole thing, read it all out loud. And while he's reading it, I'm thinking, how can I perpetuate this? How can I make the most of this this exchange, this Prabhupada's presence? And my mind was going 10 to a dozen. What can I say? What can I... I'm jumping a little bit. That first impression I got, what you mentioned, Amita, in front of Prabhupada, you felt naked. And what goes in the mind is how we've all heard that phrase, fight or flee. Fight or flee. And animals do that. They either fight or they run away. But there's a third one, which you can only do that in front of saintly persons. So it's fight or flee, and what would the third one be? Freeze. You're in front of a saintly person. You fight or you flee or what? Surrender. Yes. Yeah. So fight or flee? No. Surrender. That was, I don't know how far the surrender went, but that was the opposite. So then I felt, I can trust him.
What did he say about your leaflet?
No?
What did he say about your leaflet?
Oh, he read it through, and he said, thank you very much. And gave it back to me. By which time I come to the conclusion, surrender, and I don't want to waste his time. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Obeisances, and out the door. Because you didn't want to waste Prabhupada's time. And actually in Prabhupada's presence, you kind of got a hint of what a time waster you were. Unless you had business, unless there was something. Unless Prabhupada set the mood of shooting the breeze. And Prabhupada could certainly set the breeze. You see, sometimes there's conversations, he's just kind of talking about this and that and making everyone feel comfortable. But at a moment's notice, he can change to the business at hand. There was one morning, this particular morning walk I mentioned before, Prabhupada's sense of humor. It's a wonderful, wonderful morning walk. And there were only a few of us on it, about 6 of us on the morning walk. And towards the end of it, don't get this wrong. This is the wrong, you could get it wrong. Someone says to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, we've got rats and mice in the Edinburgh Temple. You may know this one. Prabhupada, we've got rats and mice in the Edinburgh Temple. Can we kill them? And Prabhupada stopped, and he'd been cracking jokes and being fairly quite light and criticising the scientists. Now he stopped. He kind of put his cane down, and he roared. He said, "No, you should be killed." Now imagine hearing that from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says Brahmin means clean. Clean means Brahmin. He hammered really strong. Something I need to take to heart. And the devotee was, well, I can't imagine how he felt. He told me afterwards he'd been praying that Prabhupada would chastise him. So, as you say, you've got to be careful what you pray for. I don't know. I know who it is. I'll tell you who's on the morning walk. There was Haimavati, Hansaruda's wife, Haimavati. There was Bajahari, which passed away 2 or 3 years ago. There was Jaya Lakshman. The husband of Suradi, who painted the Panchatattva. Vaikuntanath, yes, Vaikuntanath, he was there. And Patitudara, who happened to be president of the Edinburgh Temple. So you got a clue there. So he told me, he said, the devotee who got chastised, he said, I was praying. But and yet, then it changed, and everyone was kind of, buzzing from, not going to say buzzing, but it would have been so serious, gravitas. He was emphasizing the need for cleanliness, and also he was condemning the killing of rats and mice. So we now return into the temple, into the front gate, which is in the village back then. And we go down, and suddenly everyone's kind of pairing off down the back of what is now the kitchen. And it ends up with just myself and Srila Prabhupada crossing the circle outside the side of the temple. And this is a rare opportunity. Just as mere alone with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's just chastised someone saying they should be killed. And I'm thinking, what can I say to this? So I get this, okay, I've got the question. Now I've got to find the part in me that I can ask the question from. I can't be presumptuous. I can't be, you can come with the wrong attitude. And a few times I asked Prabhupada a question that I was with the wrong attitude, and Prabhupada, in his very abrupt answer, he was letting it be known, no, you got it wrong. No? So Prabhupada would so many times respond to the consciousness and intention of the devotee or the questioner. So anyway, this time, and I've told this story before, I said to Srila Prabhupada, I found the child inside me, and I said, Srila Prabhupada, have you seen the peacocks? And Prabhupada stopped, and he turned around and looked up, because he wasn't very tall, Prabhupada. He looked up, and like a little child, he said, oh, you have peacocks? Let us see. So we had this little adventure. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, I think in the cow barn, in the stables. The stables is now where the entrance to the kitchen is. That was stables. And so off we go, walking, just turning around the corner. And I took the presumption of going into the stables before Prabhupada just to make sure they were there. And yes, they were there, two peacocks. One was sitting on the stalls and one was on the floor. And Prabhupada comes in and he stops and he says, but they have no tails. And I said to Srila Prabhupada, well, Prabhupada, Shamsunda got them cheap at a farm down the road. I mean, Prabhupada's, he lived in Vrindavan, everybody knows peacocks shed their tails, But me, I didn't. And Prabhupada played along with it, It was a little kind of little exchange, he was playing a little game. It was very touchy. And then, again, I'm thinking, okay, what do about peacocks? And then I asked Prabhupada, I said, Srila Prabhupada, what do peacocks eat? And we're walking across the circle now, and Prabhupada's saying, they are, he stops, he said, they are, he's looking for the word, omnivorous, yes, omnivorous. And he turns around and goes into the temple. So that's just a little exchange. But it meant the world to me. And it showed how Prabhupada could change his, as I said before, the mood from saying some serious chastisement. He was emphatic, not that he should be, but the seriousness of the responsibility for a temple. So from that mood, Prabhupada suddenly was chit-chatting about peacocks. So whatever Prabhupada was into, he was totally into it. And just as into the executing the service and the carrying out the mission of his Guru Maharaj, he was totally into it. So we're very fortunate to have such a committed Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada forecast 5,000 years ago by Krishna and 500 years ago by Lord Chaitanya, and who's still there, accessible. In fact, there's a lady who used to come and clean Prabhupada's rooms. She didn't get initiation. She used to visit the temple and clean. And I bumped into her in a charity shop in Watford 2 or 3 years ago. And somewhere or other we got talking about the manner. She said, I used to clean Prabhupada's rooms. She said, one time he spoke to me. I said, really? I said, yes. She said, I just finished cleaning his rooms and I finished cleaning his desk. And I was just tidying things up on the desk, and Prabhupada said, are you chanting 16 rounds? She said, I heard it, clear as a bell. I said, but Prabhupada, I'm not a devotee, I'm not initiated. But Prabhupada can speak to you. No doubt. Do we have the ears to hear? it's service. Prabhupada is reciprocating with their service, doing some selfless service. So, I didn't mean to speak so long, but suddenly the MC disappeared, so here we are. Anyone want to say something? Say something. Less people here, Amita, do you want to say something? Not as many people.
I cry when Lassie gets lost.
We can share a tear, you know.
Oh, those are speaking.
Yes, yes.
So that moved me.
See. And that's the palanquin, is it? No,
No,
that's the rocking chair.
it's the white one
See there?
in the end bedroom.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
anyway, I got that out.
Thank you.
I'll try for one more. One time we came in, and of course you. Most people will find it surprising, I think, that most disciples never spoke to Prabhupada or had him speak to them. I would say 90% of us. Or wrote letters to him or got letters from him. And even when Prabhupada was passing away or if he was here, we were always told to don't go to India, don't go into his rooms. There was a lot of rules in the best sense for Prabhupada's benefit. So, yeah, most of us never actually had direct conversations. About what we were saying earlier about sorry.
About Prabhupada speaking?
No, him reading your mind.
Oh, yeah. And did you have any experience like that? When he was present, when he was present with us? Or probably since then, no?
Oh, several times.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to share that if it's too emotional for you.
It's not a secret. It's just I probably won't be able to finish this one, but this is when I first joined the temple in Murray Place. First of all, I was the temple commander, and that means basically you do everything that you can't get anybody else to do. So I followed. I wanted to do. I haven't even got to the story yet.
You want to write it down?
Yeah, it all needs to be written down, definitely.
Yeah, really.
But I'm trying to do it really quick. The Sankirtan devotees were determined that the women were in Maya because they just did the daily worship and cooked and they weren't doing book distribution or Harinam. And this is the Sankirtan movement. And in those days it wasn't unusual for a young man to think that it was sort of a mood that came over with the Damodar travelling party. That if you weren't doing book distribution, and certainly if you were just in the temple all day eating maha, as the generalization goes, you must be in maha. So, Sagra, who you all know, was the Sankirtan leader, and he was a Turkish Cypriot, very passionate Muslim boy, and he was really drumming it up that all these women are in Maya, and when Prabhupada comes, we're going to straighten them out.
Going to straighten Prabhupada out?
Straighten the woman out.
Oh, women. Oh.
Because, you know, we're meant to be humble, so we can't do it, but you know, we're going to, when Prabhupada tells them, then they're definitely going to have to get out and Sankirtan. So, there was maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10 Sankirtan brahmacharis. You may even have been ones, actually. Anyway, all people who we know. Prabhupada gave the class. Now, unfortunately, this recording can't find this recording. Because when Rancho was writing his book, As Brilliant as the Sun, I told him this story and he went to the archives and the lecture doesn't exist anymore. But fortunately, I have had the story confirmed by Leela Shakti, who was a woman and was the head pujari. So, the class finished and straight away Sagar's hand went up and said, Prabhupada, what's the most important service?
Don't keep us waiting.
It's hard when you hear the punchline. Anyway, what's the most important service? We all thought we knew the answer. Because he had always said, you know, distributing books is the most important thing. This is how you'll please me. This is, you know, what my Guru Maharaj said, if you ever get money, print books. All the quotes were there. And these are, the emotion is pleasure, I can assure you.
You're not feeling uncomfortable?
It's ecstatic, yeah. So he turned and he said, just as the flower garland around Krishna's neck, if some little insect is in there, and he went, what is this? Someone said an ant. He said, that'll do. If there's accidentally an ant gets into the flower, and it comes crawling out of the flower, and falls onto Krishna's feet, Krishna thinks, my pure devotee has come to massage my feet. Instant liberation. Radharani is so merciful that if anyone renders the least service, their life will be perfect. What to speak of someone who does devotional service to them? Their life is perfect. They'll be going back to Godhead for sure. So we all lined up and asked if we could make ghee lamps and garlands. And yeah, we were totally defeated. And he knew the situation. He read it perfectly. So yeah, the ladies carried on worshiping Radharani and Ishwara, and we carried on doing book distribution.
Well, the ladies did both sides, because they would very frequently go out and collect for the deities, because there wasn't enough for the outfit, there wasn't enough for this or that. Yeah, Malati.
Kind of writings and everything used to go out from, but this was back to Vedanta Mana.
Yeah.
Ganga told me some of the stories when she was still alive.
Malati said, you know, when they used to go all night in the pubs to collect,
Yeah.
and then go to Covent Garden to get the flowers
Yes.
before to come here.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
did this.
It's certainly, when you were saying about the Brahmishas castigating the ladies, it's the ladies' team who collected the money to purchase soldiers. They were out every, you know,
Primarily, yeah.
Primarily, yes, mostly. A team of 12 of them out all hours, you know, all day, and amazing.
It's, yeah.
I meet that Karen Srila Prabhupada in the Palawan. He wanted to do the most books, so he could do that.
So, yeah.
Karen Srila Prabhupada down in the Palawan, yeah, he wanted to be one of them. There's a picture.
Yeah, it's in the photograph.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier, we practiced for, Adhikar and I practiced for, I don't know, an hour or two carrying a big bag of rice. Because the person at the front, going downstairs, the person at the front had to be up high, carrying high, and the person at the back had to be carrying very low. So it was hard to do that. Well, you know, we didn't want Prabhupada slipping off. But I can honestly say that's the purest consciousness in my life,
Carrying a pan.
doing that service. When we came in, his feet were on the carpet, and I thought, this is my chance to grab his feet, but I couldn't do it. I thought, no, it's too offensive. I can't just pick up, touch his feet. You know, who am I? So I said to Tamal Krishna, Prabhupada's feet are still on the ground, hoping he'd say to me, oh, you can pick them up and put them on the footrest. But he did it. And afterwards I said, I shouldn't have asked you, I should have just done it. And he said, in your mind you did the service. So don't worry, you know. But yeah, I wish I had now.
If I may say, that's on Amita, I told him recently, when after Prabhupada left, and the ladies had to go out, you know, while everyone went out to dress Srila Prabhupada, you know, to take him on parikrama 3 times around the temple. So anyway, so we were all outside Prabhupada's house, and I was right by the door of his house on the left. It was by then about 8 o'clock, so it was very dark, so when the dress Srila Prabhupada required with ladies, they brought him to the Palawan. So they couldn't, at some point, the Palawan didn't go to the door well, so there was some kind of scuffle, and I was standing right there. The door was there, and it was on the left with some other devotees, but I was immediately, as I say, by the frame of the door. So when they were struggling to, you know, have the Palawan go through, before I could even think, I just, with my right hand, grabbed Srila Prabhupada's left foot. I mean, not just touch it, grabbed it. I don't always say that story, but, and I hope, you know, I would consider him you know, offensive to a
We
friend.
all wish
But I
we'd
did
done it.
sing, I did sing Srila Prabhupada's hymn, and I'm forgiven. But I did because it was dark, it was tough, and Prabhupada had just left half an hour before. And I just did not, before I could sing, it was right in front of me when it was coffee. I got Prabhupada's.
So you're a transcendental opportunist, yeah?
Yes, I Krishna. I was not going to say, but I'm going to meet you. I told him not long ago. But you know, in those days, the women had to wear and stuff, so I didn't use so at the beginning say that story a lot because the way it was. But,
Prabhupada had left by then.
Sorry?
Prabhupada had already
Yeah,
left.
it was half an hour after he left.
Wow.
We after Prabhupada left, we all went out on the car. It was dressing Srila Prabhupada. Actually, he handed me. I was by the headboard, and you know, Srila Prabhupada's bed, and his head was there. On the car, when Prabhupada left the car garage signal that Prabhupada, his fault signal was gone. He handed me the Tulsi garland. Prabhupada had a lot of Maha garlands from the DGs, so he handed me the Tulsi garland, which I distributed so many
The what
devotees.
garland? Tulsi.
Tulsi.
Maha Tulsi. He had all these Maha garlands.
Yes.
I sent it. I remember the Sala left just a week before, and so I sent her the Tulsi, some of the Tulsi from the garland. I have some here, that you know, and that kept all these years. And so what happened is we